going on, everybody? It's your guy JWill. I'm back again, and today we're going to be talking about working on tracks and kind of helping you develop and pick out some sound. Right now, I'm actually working on doing a series of things. We've got artist projects that are in queue right now. We have film projects that are for television that are pending and in queue right now. And then we also have our streaming sync catalog that we work on that's also in queue right now. So here is a sample project in its rough form. We've already obviously for the streaming purpose done our copyright and our paperwork, so this is copyrighted. So if you'd like to sample it, please let me know, and we'll work with you guys to give you some samples or give you some variations of samples from this project. But please do not sample this. It will not be good. So let's go ahead and dive into today's project. So what I did is I took 4 different oscillating units right here from Arcade, created my own samples, and then once I made those samples, I captured them and put them into audio. All right, so these are the original audio files. Let's go ahead and take a gander at what the audio files are like without any of the drums, and then I'm gonna let you guys know what I did with the drum machine next. All right, so let's hear it out. Alright, did a nice little melody joint for it. And as you can see, we took different sounds, merged them together. And a lot of times when I do these recordings or these videos, I get people who ask me, like, how do you determine what's the project that you're going to work forward on? How do you determine your workflow? And a lot of times I like to tell people I like to come into every studio session with a clean slate. So I try not to really have a dedicated workflow. I try to have a concept in mind that I'm going to work with. And then from that concept, I try to, kind of focus in and home in as the project kind of gets underway. But I really like to let the project speak to me. In this particular case, I was working, I think it was with this sound. And I was working with this like spinning and sound effect along with this like twisty takeoff sound effect. So it's about 4 different sounds that were merged together, and then I warped them into the same time frame of 140 beats a minute. And I was like, okay, that kind of sounds like something's taking off, like you know what I mean? So I said, well, let me work with that, and then I came with this little sample, and then I fell in love with it. And when I took that one, flipped it a few different ways, did some tweaking to it, and then I put the rest of it together. And then when I put the rest of it together, and it just gave it the rest of the pieces a body, and then that was how I ended up coming with deciding that was going to be my melody with all these different pieces put together, working in conjunction and really leaving not a lot of empty gap, but space to put tracks and vocals in is what I heard when I listened to that. So then I said, okay, well, I got that. Let me go ahead and start working with like the full production. So I brought up my drum machine over here, and when I brought up my drum machine, as you guys can see, my drum patterns and whatnot. So I brought these up and brought them over. Now I've updated this particular pattern, so this is the raw version of the pattern, but I've updated this pattern for the purpose of everything. And then after I did the full drum, after I got my drums together the way I kind of wanted them, I went ahead, separated my kicks, my claps, my hats, my open hats, my percussion, and I actually dropped in another clap. So, but before I go ahead and bring in that other clap, what I want to talk to you guys about is really how do you make this beat a little bit better, right? How do we take it to another level? Because that's the hardest thing in doing audio production, right? Is kind of moving your project along. And a lot of times what people do is they'll get something that sounds good and they're like, okay, it sounds good, dope, and then press it. And like that's not always the best thing to do. If you have a lot of lock in that project, then yeah, you might want to go ahead and save and press it, shelf it for a day or two, and then come back to it and see what your ears are hearing and what your mind is telling you to do. A lot of times you're gonna find that you're gonna have more that you can offer that track. So when you think you're done, shelve it for a day or two, come back, listen to it, and then see what you got. So that's my tip there. But big producer tip right there. By the way, it took me a long time to learn that because I used to always be the guy like, oh yeah, that's banging, press it. Yeah, that's banging, press it, and that's the hit, press it. But it's not always that way. And sometimes it's hard to hear because you get in here and you start working with these songs 2-3 hours later. You got a project and you really haven't homed it in to be the project that you're really trying to make it. So just take a moment and recapture your stuff. So let's listen to this and let's dive into today's training. So today's training is finding the right kind of sound. So what we're doing is we're gonna turn back on the drums and my drum machine. And right now what I'm doing is I'm working on my kick. So that's the kick right there. And what I like to do is I like to break everything down. You know what I mean? And just work with my full melody. And alright, so that's like my melody line. So I want a kick that's gonna complement it. Right now the kick that I'm using is this one. Let me switch it. It's a really deep kick. And so like this deep kick is resonating, boom, 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 boom. But I'm kind of wanting it to be a little different, a little better. But I don't want it to be like a wobbly kick. I want it to be a deep and like bass engulfed kick. So I'm going through my samples. There it goes, right? That's the one. That's the one. That's the loop right there. That's the sound that I want. So let's solo it out and let's hear the difference. That was the original. I want more chuff from the sub. So I decided to go ahead and work with that. So now that I got my kick the way, or at least the initial sound the way I want it, let me see if I can fatten it a little bit, saturate it. I always tell everybody overdo it, overdrive it. You hear that snap at the beginning? And that won't in it. What we're looking for doing is probably taking that. I'm gonna drop a transient 1, and then I'm gonna bring that fattener back down. And I'll probably turn the saturator up about 15% to 25%, somewhere in there. And now I'm gonna go ahead and back up. And now I'm gonna drop the rest of the track and let's hear what it sounds like with it. And there we go. Now this drum beat is far from done, but that's it right there. So then I started thinking about, like the claps. A cool little trick that I'm going to tell you guys about claps is this. So when you get your clap, okay, and you have your clap, don't always just stick with like a single clap. Do a stacked clap. You know what I mean? And I like to do like a regular, like if this is the clap sound I want right here, then I'm gonna go up, one semitone, two semitones, and I'm gonna drop me another clap right here. But this one I might make it drag. And then what I'm gonna do on these is I'm gonna add some reverb, and this is gonna add an effect to my first clap. So now I got like a stacked clap. I got a power clap. And what I'll do is I'll do that again. I'll skip one and I'll do it again. Add some ear candy, right? Some variation to it, because we get used to hearing a repetitive sound, and our brain starts to shut it down. So what we want to do is we want to add some extra flavor to the clap. So if I got a clap, it's just right. Okay, that's dope. But if I had a clap that was like, it's making my brain like re-engage. Like, what's that sound? What's that sound? What's that sound, right? And that's what we want. So we want to stagger this, and then this one will have the reverb and effects, and then this one will stay as the original sample, and I might even do some different things within that sample once I get into EQing and different things of that nature. That'll be for a whole nother day and another video. But that's just a recommendation that I recommend you guys to do. So in my case, I'm just going to go ahead and deactivate these notes right there. That's one thing I would do with the claps, right? Is do a stagger clap. And then you're going to always want to, talk about your hat line. Right now, people are in love with hats. People have always been in love with hats, but now with technology, we've been able to do a lot of cool things that you necessarily haven't been able to do with a drummer, right? Unless you had a really skilled drummer. So now we want to go ahead and talk about adding some variations. And a lot of times when you're new, you just stick with making a single pattern. Tat 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 tat. But what you're not thinking about is, if I was really drumming, I like to drum. You guys have probably seen some of my drumming videos, but I like to drum. Boom, 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 but even in the middle of doing that and talking to you and drumming out what I'm saying, I even had a ghost note where my finger dropped and I didn't intend for it to drop. So you want to add ghost notes in here as well, and that's, in variations and making these pitches, see here's 1, 2, 3, 4 semitones. It's going to really stand out compared to this one. These are going to sound really high. This is going to sound low. And you're going to get this kind of effect when I stair step it. And then back up. And then back down, back up again. Then down. Right? So we're playing ear candy and emotion when we move to different frequencies, but using the same instrument. So what I'm saying is, don't be afraid to stair step your beats. Even if I just use this top row, right? And I just did something like this, you know what I'm saying? Like my beat would sound completely different. Now, if I did that and these were all at 80 volume level, right? And I do these at different volume levels, now it's going to sound like somebody's actually playing a real instrument. You see what I mean? Because now it's going to sound like the instrument has life. I'm adding humanization to it, not just a straight computer kind of effect to it. Now, you can do it this way, or a cool trick in Ableton is if you come over here, it'll say velocity range. A lot of, like when I first started messing with this joint, I was messing it up. You don't want to mess it up like that. So velocity range or randomize, right? So your velocity range, I would just leave at 0. You can mess with this, but this is the quickest way to do it. Just leave it at 0 and then come down here and your randomization and your randomized notes, leave it like 12, and then your velocity range, leave it like maybe 10. Okay. Now when you do that, you'll do it and highlight everything, and then have your velocity ranging -8. So everything will go down roughly -8 from where it is, and it's going to randomize it. So now I randomize it, and look what it just did. It did a whole randomization for my entire pattern, other than the ones I just did. So I like to come in, pin a couple of them, then I'm going to let the computer do some randomization to it to add a variation in style that I don't always have. We become habits of what we know how to do. So we want to do some variation in style, right? So let's do some variation in style, and then we'll come back and play that. So I mean, that's for me. That's what I look at when I do my hats. Is doing stacks. When I look at doing my, or excuse me, my claps, doing stacks when I'm doing my hats, I like to do some randomization. This randomization tool is pretty cool too, by the way. You know what I mean? Because it just allows you to have something like this. I mean, let's just think about it. In one quarter note, I've got 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 notes. So if I'm keeping that same pattern, which I did, just different variations, I got 12, 24, 48 keys or 48 key strikes that I've gotten here. You know, when I'm doing that, and then maybe I might have a different pattern that'll come along, right? That I'm doing. So now I take this one, and then maybe I'm gonna double it up and duplicate it, and then this one is gonna have more. Maybe I'll do this instead on these just to add some variation. All right. And then on this one, maybe I'll make it bounce on these, right? Kind of thinking about what I'm hearing here, and maybe I'll drop these down one more to make that bounce a little more pronounced, right? All right, let's drop that one here. Let's drag it down, drag that one down. You see what I'm saying? So now I got two different, two different patterns that I'm doing. And with those two different patterns, it's two completely different sounds, and more importantly, I've got this one that's rocking at this volume level. Now this one, maybe I'm going to change up the velocity, and instead of, maybe I'm gonna make it bounce a little bit more. Instead of 8, I'm gonna do about maybe 10 more bounce, let's say. So I'm gonna put that at 18 instead of -8, -18, and I'm gonna make this randomized just a little bit more at about 20%. Now I can come in here, select all these, hit randomize, and now my notes and the volume strike of the intensity changes, which makes the pattern, even though it's not a different pattern, right? We're just changing the pitch of different parts of it and whatnot. I mean, it is a different pattern in its technical terms, right? But we did a very, very minute change. So for the average user, it's going to be hard to hear. But because we have this randomization feature that we just did, instead of having to do that for, 86, 96, 92 something, individual pieces, we were able to knock that out super quick. So that's a little trick that I want you guys to really remember and kind of parlay on and take to the bank right there. Utilize this randomization feature. It's really, really cool. You know what I'm saying? And it'll help you guys get a lot out of your project very quickly. So let's talk about open hats. Again, I like doing the open hat here. Something that I did on the original this is the original, but the one that I actually produced is I took another one, and then I skipped and then dropped, and then it added like a tap 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 tap, right? It added that tap tap double step, or what I call like a double step change step. So I did that. Now, the reason I say, obviously not to utilize these or take these pieces without letting me know is because we have what's called sync licensing, and then we have our project licensing. So we have two different kind of ways that we do it. We use them for various things, and sometimes both. In this particular case, I had two different variations that I used and sent off. So again, please don't get copy struck or get jammed up with this, because it won't be just me. You know what I'm saying? If you want to use this, or you want me to shoot you guys the MIDI packs of these, I can shoot you the MIDI packs. Just let me know. DM me in the video feed, and I'll get you the copies of these samples, because I can send you the MIDI. I just can't send you the audio file, right? You know what I'm saying? So I'll give you the MIDIs, and I'll give them all to you at like 100 velocity or 127 velocity, and y'all can freak it and play it the way you want to, you know what I'm saying? So I'll help y'all out, it ain't no big deal. So we'll do that. But yeah, we got that here and whatnot, and that's just some tips and tricks on how to make this song pop. Now I'm gonna go over here and go back. And now when I go back, let's go ahead and hear the project with it all together. It's not level because it's the original version. So on the other ones, we've got bass lines in them, things of that nature. For this video, I took the bass line out because I wanted to really focus on like cueing in on your sound. So let's recap as we're getting ready to wrap up this particular video for you guys. Recap, right? We take different sounds. When we come into the studio, we kind of start off from scratch. We don't go in with like a fixed concept. When you do that, you find yourself in a pigeonhole and you stop hearing things. Go in with an open concept or a basic concept with an open palette, right? Today I'm going to work on, like a strip club song. Boom. All right, strip club song. Kind of gives me a parameter. I'm not going to say it's a slow song. I'm not going to say it's a fast song. I'm just going to say I want a strip club song. Now that I got my strip club song or my thought process, like my canvas now, right? Now I got to pick out my paint. When I pick out my paint, that's my different sounds and that I want to hear in the song. Do I want synthesizers, raindrops? Do I want, the sounds of dollars getting flung up in the air randomly? Do I want, drinks clinging in the background, right? Because I want it to sound like a live club, you know what I'm saying? Those are things that I start thinking about. Then I start to find those sounds. And then once I kind of got like a palette of sounds that I want to work with, I'll build my drum kit. For me, I've got tons. I've been doing this for a while, so I've got tons and tons and tons of drum kits that are already ready, that are kind of categorized in like pop, hip hop genres. You know what I mean? To help me, shift a little faster. And then those help me get my ideas down quickly, and then I go in and I start tweaking it like I was just talking about. So once you get the ideas down, you start putting it together. I'll try to find like my part. What's the part that's going to pull me through the project? What's the part that's going to walk me through a walking synth, or what's the melody, the hook? Once I got that, then I start kind of building for me. Then I start building my drum lines, and sometimes I'll build my drums first, and then I'll let my drums dictate the kind of hook because. If I'm working on a stripper song, you might want a hook, but what the stripper is doing is she's, I guess sometimes if it's super seductive kind of track, then she might be dancing with the melody. But a lot of times she's dancing on the beat. She's popping and dropping it, bouncing it right on a beat. When it's clapping, the tap pat, the tap pat, the tap pat, the pat pat, the pat pat, the tap, the tap pat, the pat pat, the tap pat. To tap tap pat pat. You get what I'm saying? So not necessarily the doom 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 pat to pat pat to pat pat to pat. Like that doom 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 might be walking you through, but the drum line is what's making her bounce, twerk, and shake to the song, right? And I have to be very descriptive and vivid when I'm thinking about it. I've been known to like take a trip. I'm not one that you can find at a strip club all the time, right? But I've been known, like, if I'm trying to work on a project and I got to do a strip club song, I'm going to the strip club, because I got to get into that moment. I got lights in here I'll turn on spinning disco balls and shit, anything to make me get into that moment and feel that invigorating, emotion. And something that's a trick to do that a lot of people won't tell you is like, when I'm getting ready to start working on projects, I'll download a whole new playlist on my Amazon account. And then I'll go for a spin on a beltway, listening to that playlist. And just like hearing what's popping at the moment, like what's happening at the moment, what's in the trend. Because I don't want to produce stuff that's necessarily always in the trend. I want to produce stuff that creates a trend or becomes part of a trend, not necessarily the trend, right? So just some ideas and some tips, guys. So I hope I'm not kind of belaboring this project for too long, but or this video for too long. But I really want you guys to understand the production mindset. A lot of people go, oh, super easy to produce music. It's super easy to put some sounds together. It's not super easy to produce music with a very specific content, with a very specific type of emotion that could go to very specific styles of artists or movies or commercials, jingles, things of that nature. So it's not easy. But if you break it down like this, you can find yourself being able to chop your way through projects pretty quickly and pretty easily because you have kind of a template now, right? So now that you've done that, get your melody together and then get your drum machine together, bro, and go through there. Just don't use the samples that's already in there. Go through there and like pull up your clap, for example, and be like, all right, yeah, I want to change my clap. What kind of clap do I want? Do I want a trap clap? Do I want a, dance clap? Do I want a urban clap? Do I want, you know, a synthesized, real robotic one that's going to be for trance and techno? You know what I mean? Like, so think about the sounds you have because there's so many sound packs out there, especially if you guys are using some of the packs that we have, right? For example, MIDI Innovation, we have our MIDI Unlimited box, our Ultimate MIDI box, all right? And that Ultimate MIDI box, we give you sound samples of our drums. So like if this was my project right now that I was doing for the Ultimate MIDI box, I would be giving you guys the MIDI sample files. I'm going to give you guys the audio file of the performance, and then I'm going to give you the MIDI file of the full performance. Then I'm going to also give you the actual full performance altogether. So you can use the full performance. You could take the MIDI files and edit them to different styles or different rhythms, different sounds, and then repress them as new audio files. Or you could take the audio file that we have, splice it, and then once you splice it up, chop it up, you could take the individual sample out of that file and then recreate a new beat with it or use it in your drum machine. So we're going to give you so many things that are in there. And, when you're talking about files that continually update every month, in our case, right, we give you guys 1,000 new files every single month, man. That's 12,000 files a year to dig through, not counting the 50 plus thousand that we started off with when we gave it to you. So you getting 62,000 files before the end of 23, more than 62,000 files. It's just crazy. Now, how do you shift through it? Well, you have to become organized. Look, we're going to shift through it by going by a beat tempo, and that's going to tell me what files I'm looking at, or what files I'm not looking at, more importantly. And then now that I know what files I'm not looking at, I know what I'm looking at. Then inside of those files, what am I looking for? Am I looking for samples, audios, MIDIs? Am I going to be resampling stuff? All that. Now you can start really going to work on this project file. And now you go in there and you start pulling these beats together. Now you get your sound palette together. So we was talking about the sound palette. Now you got your sound palette together. Now you could go in here, start dropping it in on different instruments, different melodies, different programs, and really working it. And I mean, like the content creation is ridiculous out of that program. So, don't just come in and just go, I got this clap and that's what I want. Maybe your project sounds good with that clap. You know what I'm saying? Let me switch it real quick. Go back to the new one. And that's like a good switch. You know what I'm saying? Like, use that one, take two different claps, put them together, do one with the effect to add emphasis on the power clap, and now you got an entire project that's like custom created, originally sound designed. It's yours. You know what I'm saying? And it sounds good, more importantly, and it has a purpose, right? The power clap. You do that, and then you add in, these different pieces that I was showing you about, and how to take these different sounds and move them around so that they're in different pitches for that specific instrument. You know what I mean? And then you're going to be able to start creating more emotion in your projects, and your projects will naturally just form into, Wolfgang, man, you know what I'm saying, box style projects, and you're gonna be like, man, my production level went from here to here, I don't know why, or I can't really explain it. It just went from here to here. My sounds are better. It's not necessarily that your sounds are better. You're just doing better use of your technique, and you're homed in a technique and some tips that have allowed you to take your music sound to the next level, not necessarily your production level, although that comes with it. So I hope that this video helps, man. Dive in, check us out. I would be remiss to mention again, we have that ultimate MIDI box. Man, I'm telling you guys, dive into that unlimited MIDI box, that ultimate MIDI box. Dive into it, check it out, and really give it a go. It's $9.99, excuse me, for a month subscription, and it's a monthly subscription. So if you like it, you keep it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. But put it this way, we have not had a user that has downloaded it that has not liked it and returned it. So I think that it gives you everything you need. For some of you who are asking, like, oh, what's inside the MIDI box? Okay, well, inside the MIDI box and MIDI packs is going to be chords, bass, drums, keys, riffs, pads, melodies. Should I keep going? I mean, like, bro, we're going to give you everything that you need to really make some good music. You know what I'm saying? Film producers, and networkers are also going to be attached to that platform, because when you get the ultimate MIDI box, you also become a free user of the MIDI Innovation platform. And MIDI Innovation's platform is really designed to make everybody connected in the entertainment space. You can't do movies without music. You can't do music without having a place for it to go, like movies. All right. You need artists to be a part of all of that. You need performers to be a part of all that. You need dancers. You need clubs. So MIDI Innovation is going to be the place where people can easily, quickly find other individuals all around the world, cities, neighboring cities, your neighborhood, right there, that are doing projects, that are looking for people to work with, they're looking for people to help them, they're looking for studios to work with. Our goal is to make this a lot easier, man. We in 2023, there's no reason why you should have to call around to 90,000 studios to find the one studio that wants to do business. Go into this MIDI Innovation app, and the people who are in there because they want to be connected. They want to work with you. They want to network. They want to build a huge Rolodex. And I mean, what good is a phone if you ain't got nobody you can call? What good is a platform, right, if you don't utilize it? And the more that this platform becomes known, because it's free, it's just going to naturally go steam, and you want to be in that platform because you're going to naturally find opportunities that you probably are not going to find anywhere else, from small to large. So with that being said, I hope this video helps you guys out. I want to see you on the inside, and make sure to tune in for the next video. Peace.